Ever feel like you're in a constant battle with Acumatica,
Oh,
trying to
yeah.
get your data to display correctly?
Yeah,
It's
don't
like you
you?
save a record and everything seems fine, but it's just not showing up in the UI.
Right.
Maddening, right?
Absolutely.
Well, today we're diving deep into that very issue.
Okay.
Specifically, what's happening behind the scenes with items in cache versus items in view.
Hmm.
And we've got a real Acumatica guru to guide us, Harikanth.
Okay.
He's a senior software engineer at Tiana Solutions with over 9 years of experience tackling these kinds of Acumatica quirks.
Wow.
He's seen everything from basic reports and inquiries
Mm-hmm.
to complex customizations and API integrations.
I see.
I think it's safe to say he's seen it all.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is that he pinpoints this data not showing issue to a fundamental concept in Acumatica.
Okay.
The difference between the cache, that temporary holding area for data,
Right.
and the view, which is what we actually see on the screen.
So like the data's there, but it's stuck in limbo. Can you give us an example of how this plays out in real life?
Sure, imagine you're working with a sales order and you add a new line item.
Okay.
You hit save, everything looks good, but when you refresh the screen,
Uh-huh.
that new line item has vanished. Poof.
Oh, no.
It's a classic case of the data being stuck in the cache, but not actually committed to the database and synced with the view.
Ah, so it's like that item is floating in the ether, not quite real yet. What's
Right.
the secret to making that item materialize on the screen?
Well, Harikanth recommends a simple but powerful trick.
Okay.
Instead of using the typical persists.save,
Yeah.
try base.action.presssave.
Base.action.press save.
Yeah, it's like giving Acumatica a little nudge to get things moving.
Interesting.
Mm.
Why is that so much more effective? Does it
Uh,
work some behind-the-scenes magic?
it does. Base.action.presssave forces a commit, which essentially takes that data from the cache, writes it permanently to the database,
Right.
and then refreshes the view to reflect the change. It ensures everything is in sync.
So it's like hitting the save button twice, but with a purpose.
Exactly. It's a subtle difference in code, but it can make all the difference in getting your data to behave the way you expect. And Harikanth emphasizes that this is just one example of the many nuances involved in working with the Acumatica cache and view.
I can imagine there are a ton of other potential pitfalls.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
are some of the other things we should be aware of?
Well, he points out that even if you're using the right save command,
Uh,
you still need to make sure your BQL query for the view is spot on.
BQL.
Yeah, BQL, or business query language, is what Acumatica uses to fetch data from the database.
Okay.
A tiny error in your BQL query can lead to data not showing up correctly in the view.
So it's like having all the ingredients for a delicious cake,
Yeah,
but then messing up the baking instructions.
precisely. You need both parts to work perfectly to get the desired result. And this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to troubleshooting these kinds of issues. So Harikanth has a whole arsenal of troubleshooting nuggets he's picked up over the years.
Oh, cool.
For example, let's say you're trying to update an existing record,
Right.
but the changes just aren't sticking.
Ugh. I've been there.
Yeah.
Spent hours trying to figure out why my changes weren't saving.
Yeah.
What's the trick there?
Well, he says to double check two things.
Okay.
First, are you absolutely sure you're retrieving the correct record in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds simple, but it's easy to get tripped up, especially when you're working with complex data structures.
Okay, I'll admit I've made that mistake a time or two.
Mm.
What's the second thing to check?
Make sure the field you're trying to update isn't marked as read-only in the
DA?
the data access class.
Yeah.
The data is like the blueprint for your data in Acumatica. Trying to modify a read-only field is like trying to write on a laminated sheet of paper. It's just not going to happen.
That makes sense. What about when you're trying to insert new records?
Oh, yeah.
Any hidden gotchas there?
Absolutely. When it comes to inserts, data validation is your best friend.
Okay,
Acumatica is very strict about data integrity.
I see.
If a mandatory field is missing or there's a data type mismatch,
Uh-huh.
the insert will fail and you'll be left scratching your head.
Right.
Harikanth's advice:
What's that?
wrap your logic in try-catch blocks. It's like having a safety net that catches those errors and provides helpful feedback,
Oh, okay.
so you can fix the problem quickly. And of course, always validate those data fields before attempting an insert.
So always be prepared for Acumatica to throw you a curveball.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It sounds like even the saving process can be tricky.
Oh, you bet. Sometimes it feels like Acumatica is deliberately trying to make your life difficult. It can be very picky, especially when it comes to data integrity and business rules.
I think we've all felt that way at some point.
Yeah.
So what do we do when Acumatica just refuses to save our work?
Well, Harikanth is a big believer in using the tools Acumatica provides to get to the bottom of things.
Okay.
He suggests tracing the logs, carefully validating those exceptions,
Hmm.
and maybe even setting a breakpoint in those row persisting or persisted events to pinpoint exactly where things are going wrong.
Okay, so it's time to put on our detective hats and get to work.
Yeah.
Any other Acumatica mysteries we need to be aware of?
We can't forget about concurrency chaos. What happens when you have multiple users trying to edit the same record at the same time? That's when things can get really messy.
Yikes. Multiple users all trying to make changes at once.
Yeah.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It can be, but luckily Acumatica has built-in mechanisms to prevent those conflicts, like optimistic locking.
Okay.
But if you're doing custom development, especially with extension graphs, you need to make sure your error handling is robust enough to deal with those potential concurrency issues.
So it's all about anticipating those potential problems and having the right safeguards in place.
Exactly. And lastly, let's talk about the frustration of when your view query just isn't fetching the data you expect. It's like searching online and getting a bunch of irrelevant results. So annoying.
Oh, tell me about it. What's the trick to troubleshooting those view query issues?
Yeah.
I know I've spent way too much time trying to track those down.
Yeah.
So how do we fix it when our view query goes haywire?
Harikanth's advice is to go back to basics
Okay.
and carefully dissect that BQL query.
Right.
Make sure you're targeting the right object, double-check those where clauses for accuracy, and make sure any filters you've applied are actually doing what they're supposed to do.
Gotcha.
It's all about being precise and paying attention to the little details.
So just like debugging any other code, really?
Yeah,
Speaking of debugging, we've covered a ton of ground here.
we have.
From data mysteriously disappearing
Uh-huh.
to the chaos of concurrency.
Yeah.
What are some key takeaways for our listeners? Those fellow Acumatica consultants out there battling these issues day in and day out.
I think the biggest takeaway is that understanding the interplay between the cache and the view is absolutely essential.
Right.
It can be tricky, but by following Harikanth's advice, we can avoid a lot of frustration and wasted time.
And remember those times you've been pulling your hair out because data just vanished into thin air?
Oh, yeah.
Those phantom data issues could very well be traced back to these cache view discrepancies.
For sure.
It's definitely worth revisiting some of those tricky cases with this newfound knowledge.
Absolutely. And if you're feeling overwhelmed or just plain stuck, don't hesitate to reach out for help.
Good advice.
Tiana Solutions, where Harikanth works, has a team of experts who've tackled over 1,200 unique Acumatica scenarios.
Wow, that's a lot.
They've probably seen something similar to your problem, and they can help you get back on track.
They sound like the Acumatica whisperers.
Yeah.
They can help speed up development, resolve those support cases quickly, and ultimately make our clients a lot happier.
Speaking of happy clients,
Yeah.
why should our listeners care about all of this?
Well, for starters, nobody likes it when things don't work as expected.
Right.
Those data not showing issues can cause delays, confusion, and frustration
Yeah,
for both us and our clients.
for sure.
By mastering these techniques, we can deliver smoother implementations, troubleshoot problems faster, and ultimately keep our clients happy.
Exactly. Happy clients make for a happy business.
So true. Harikanth has given us some incredible insights today.
He has.
It's amazing how much we can learn from someone who's been in the trenches, tackling these real-world Acumatica challenges every single day.
And remember, this is just a glimpse into Harikanth's expertise.
Right.
He's worked with all sorts of customizations, from reports and inquiries to mobile apps and API integrations. His knowledge is a goldmine for any Acumatica consultant.
So to wrap things up, if you're facing any Acumatica challenges, big or small, don't hesitate to reach out to Tiana Solutions. They have the knowledge, experience, and the passion to help you find the right solutions and make your Acumatica projects a success. Until next time, happy coding.